Good morning, evening, afternoon, or night. Uh, this is Lambda week 7, day 3, Wednesday, October the 29th. Shoot, yeah, 29th, 2025. Um, Wednesdays are our long days. We have 6 classes. So we start at 9 in the morning. We do not have a warm up on Wednesdays, and we go straight into acting through song with Johnny Barr. We were scheduled to be in a new room today, and we didn't have a piano in that room. So I switched with this other room that had a piano, and I looked on Asimit, the scheduling app that we use, and it said, "Oh yeah, um, there is a group in this in half an hour, but it's an independent warm up." I was like, "Perfect. We'll just move that to our room, and we'll just let them know and communicate that." And I was like, "Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Not even an issue. That's great." Apparently it was, because even though we had moved all our stuff, also Johnny was a little late. I don't know if I mentioned that. And we had a new accompanist, Josh, today. Paul was out, so Josh was just filling in. Um, so Josh was like trying to figure out the pianos, and then the two pianos we had, one of them didn't, um, the pedal didn't work. And so we tried a second piano because there was one in the closet, and that one didn't work at all. So we spent just a ton of time wasting switching rooms and trying to switch pianos and doing all this stuff. And we only got like what, one, two, three, 4 people to actually sing. And then I did my 16 bars that I missed the last day, the last class when I was out in Utah. So then when we switched, in the middle of someone's song, a like tutor or professor, whomever, came in and just like stood there and then interrupted in the middle of the song and said, "Hey, actually, there's a piano in the room you're supposed to be in now. Could you guys move there?" And like, okay. And I didn't love that. I don't know the situation. I could be totally wrong here, but if it was just an independent warm-up, it didn't matter which room they were in, and it didn't matter. But there's a piano in there, and luckily the piano had a pedal and it worked out and it wasn't wobbly, and it was what it was. But alas. So I went first with my 16 bars. I sang A Man Could Go Quite Mad from, I was going to say A Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder. No, that's what I sang for my audition for A Gentleman's Guide, but it was The Mystery of Edwin Drood. And it's very um, lyric full, right? A sculptor lacking arms, a sorcerer lacking charms, a fiend who frightens no one, for there's no one that he harms, and whose clutches clutch at only desperate respite from this dim tableau. Knowing this is so, I hide myself in thought, where one cannot be caught, and feed on dreams that contradict each edict I've been taught. And if some day I lose my way in mind, you'll find me glad. A man could go quite, man could go quite, man could go quite mad, is the gist. A little more than the gist. But my main note was just like diction is so important on that, because it just, you really got to chew those consonants and really enunciate as much as possible. But it's fun. And then another student sang Without You from Rent. And that was the one that got interrupted. Yeah, I know. They sang it with such great dynamic, and like the beginning is very head voice and airy, and then came into this belt. It was moving. I cried. Um, the direction that Johnny gave them was to like sing it at a grave, and that just really brought it down, and it was solid. And he said how was the actor was worried about um the actual way they sounded, because it was like weird on their voice a little bit, and especially how they were like kneeling at the grave. But Johnny was like, I would choose an actor over a singer any day. It's like emotional, it's raw, and that's so much more interesting and better, right? Um, yeah. and he told them to walk into it to be real. It was great. Loved it. Wept. Shout out Sandridge. Then um, another student who's half German, half English, sang a German song about German architecture post-war, and it's this ironic comedic song about how beautiful the architecture is now, that it's ugly in a sense, like, oh, we don't need columns and intricate design. What we have is flat spaces, flat concrete, things that will last, and things that are good to easy to clean vomit off of and things like that. And so it's this kind of goofy German song. And it came down to um, just the the thing that it's an acting through song, and if Johnny doesn't know the words or what it means, then it doesn't, what can he do? Um, and he really focused on saying, like, where will we use this? Let's use this class as putting together a little portfolio for ourselves and songs that we can sing and that we're ready and able to do. And something that we're going to present, did I draw that? Yeah. Is we're going to have an A4 paper of all the songs we've sung. And then Johnny's going to write some notes on those, I think. Um, oh, also something Johnny was saying to the last person was that perfection doesn't exist. Don't strive for it. It's a waste of time, right? We want truth and realness. We don't want perfection. It doesn't exist. It's impossible. Um, and he was saying that we should get used to our average voice. The best time you're ever going to sing is going to be like while you're doing your laundry. And so we need to know like what our average voice is and not just be striving for that one time we sounded perfect in the shower, right? Or we sounded the best. Find what our average is, and that's what we should be aiming for. Awesome. Yeah. Some more things that he said that everyone should kind of have. They should have a Sondheim song in their repertoire. They should have a Gershwin song. They should have a complicated one. Yeah. Then the next student saying "Can't Say No." Ugh, it was a joy. It was really in the style of the revival. So can't say no. Just really leaning into the southern sound and that country bumpkin. Um, ugh, it was delicious. Johnny said it was almost like Dolly Parton on acid because Dolly has this really kind of like trampy look, but does so much good and isn't necessarily like that. That's just her persona. And so it's almost like the swap of that, where this girl seems so innocent and sweet and she's trying, but she just can't help sleeping with everybody she sees. Um, so so this student did a great choice in which she didn't say no. It's like can't say no kind of a thing. And Johnny was like, "That's a wonderful choice, but make sure that you say it the first time because that's the name of the song, and it's important for the audience to know what the word is before you like can't, whatever." He also had her option up, "Can't say no," instead of that, "Can't say no." And I was like, "What?" Belty, incredible, so good. Um, yeah. And he said it's a dilemma song, right? So where's that inner struggle Um, and also said she's a brassy little broad, which I thought was funny. Then the next student came and sang, "At last, my love has come along." Whatever that song's called, I think it's called "At Last." Um, the student before him, with "Can't Say No," really played to the audience and was singing to everybody and was great. And then I think that the other student was mimicking that as well. And so Johnny was like, "Hey, just bring this in," and kind of like you're just under the moonlight and you're just, someone loves me and I love them and I can't believe it, right? So it's a more internal, outwardly shown but internally felt. Um, Emphasize singing the phrases more and making it a little less speaky. Finding the focus. Uh, oh yeah, not to the audience, but inward, like I said. Um, and then he added a little hum at the end, a little at last, and then just like this little added bit just to kind of finish it, to give it to something else at the end, so it's not just the accompaniment going on. Um, and then right, then we talked again about the importance of using this class for to work on music that we'll use and to bring and I think next we're going to bring a cut that we would audition with, and so that we can get through more people. Yeah, and then we're gonna have that A4 piece of paper with all the songs we've worked on, so he can write some notes on it. Yeah, and that was acting through song. I love that class, and it was frustrating with all the room movement and stuff, but alas. Okay, stage combat. Let let's see if I can remember this. Okay, do I got space? We shall see. I'm bringing my book. Oh, my body. Okay. I also huffed it to school yesterday. Okay. So we started up with a warm up in which we went breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. Then we bent over the right side, over the left side, straight legs on both sides. Um, we also did a low, as low as we could here. Oh, can't really see, maybe on this side. Yeah, I'm so sore from combat. And trying to kind of keep our head level again. And I think that's all we really did. And then we got partners and we began with our um, defensive positions, right? Right foot forward, chest square, left foot to the side, bent knee, bent knees. One, right? And these are defensive, so you would go back. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. That's the idea. So those are the eight again. Um, okay, then we reviewed the punta reversa, right? Which is where you um, go. What do you do first? You evade it somehow. Punta reversa is this one. So, oh, I think you go from three, boom, you knock that away, and then you step at like a 45-degree angle out, and then you stab him in the kidney, right? Yeah, so you go three or two, two, stab down. Um, and then there is the mandrita, which is kind of the opposite. So that's the punta reversa. The mandrita is one. So I have my opponent's right here. One, and then you step out to the side and come up and stab them, kind of like up the belly, in the belly button, like under the breastplate. So, wha. You go tap that away, stab. And something I keep finding is that my foot likes to rotate. Can't see this right here. So your foot should stay like that, your back foot the whole time, really flat. But my foot keeps like sickling. That's going to cause injury and it's not steady. So I'm working on that. Um, then we worked on a pass. And a pass is just you step with your opposing foot, right? So we did this. Um, we trying to remember exactly. This was something I hadn't learned yet. Um, you do a block of sorts. Can't remember which one. But when you block it, um, when somebody blocks it, you just follow through with your opposite leg, your back leg, right? That's the pass. And so you follow through. Oh, it was here first. So I strike um, in a one position, left hip. So I lunge, and then they block it, and I pass with my back foot. And then the same thing on the other side. I attack at F, two, 1, 2, 1, 2. That's 7, 8. No, that's 8. 1, 2. So at the right hip, and then I pass and I bring it down. Then we did the deception, which is a fun one. This one was hard too. This has a bit of a pass in it. So you, oh, we did another one, which I didn't talk about. I didn't write down at least. These ones are hard. So what's my time? Oh, I'm good. I think. Um, so this is the deception. So you lunge, but when your opponent lunges, you block them and you do a pass by bringing it around. And so their sword is here. And you kind of push their sword out of the way and you bring your sword around the back. And you can even like put it under your elbow because normally you would put this in their eye. But we don't do that in stage combat because that's hard to fake and it's really easy to stab someone in the eye. And you don't want to lose an eye. So you go tap, which is just like a two, two, whoosh, three. No, two deception. And the reason it's called deception is because you're showing your body and you can stab them. And if you had a glove, you could actually grab their sword and stab them. So bah, bah. Um, and then we worked on the evasion of that because if they're coming around, so I struck first, I attacked first, and then they parry it away, and then they're coming with their sword to stab me, then I just need to block them, and then it continues on. And then the other one we did was the deep lunge. Yeah, I didn't write that in there. I want to write that. Which you strike, you attack, um, and then what the defender did is they blocked the strike, blocked the attack, and then came up here to stab the eye. So it's defend. We went really high, but in that, so you block it, lunge, go for their eye. Then the original attacker lunges, and then when they kind of bounce that back and go for the eye, you just drop your lower leg and you lunge further. And as they go for the next attack, they skewer themselves. And so you kind of drop that. And the important thing with that is that you drop your back leg. You're not jumping forward anymore. You're just letting your back leg slide and think about your body dropping over the weight. And then like it should be a diagonal line here from your body. And my poor stinking ankles that are not very flexible or are not very good at that. But I'm learning. I'm going to start stretching my ankles. Deep lunge. That too. Okay. And then we drilled it, and it was great. And then we had historic music with Graham. And it was wonderful. And we did the same warm-ups that we always did with an NG siren, a hum, and all of that. Um, Oh, something with our NG siren is we really talked about the slow and quiet. You can even see my larynx. Go down. One, because that helps with control and everything, and two, um, it's more supported. I don't know. I think it's more supported. I'm just saying stuff. Then we did the E, and me. And then we did a new one, which was pop, pop, la. I don't remember exactly, but you're going up the a scale of sorts. You're going pop, la, da, pop, la, da, pop, la, pop, da, whatever. But it was pop, la, da, pop, la. Da pop la da pop la da pop la da pop la, something like that. Then we had our tongue twister, which was difficult for me. Tom told Ted to tie Tim's tie, and Tim told Tom to tie Ted's tie, and Ted told Tim to tie Tom's tie. Tom told Ted to tie Tim's tie, and Tim told Tom to tie Ted's tie, and Ted told Tim to tie Tom's tie. Tom told Ted to tie Tim's tie, and Tim told Tom to tie Ted's tie. Something like that. We stopped in the middle, but we started back at the beginning. And then we did a canon, which was the same one we did with George early, not George, James earlier in ensemble music, which hey ho, anybody home? Meat and drink and money have I none. Still I will be there. That's how we did with James. We did it different. The words were a little different. Hey ho, anybody home? Meat and drink and money have I none. Still I will be merry. Hey ho, anybody home? Eat and drink and money have I none. Still I will be merry. Whatever it was. Hey ho. But we did do the hey ho, hey ho. I like that. It's fun. Feels like medieval music of my ancestors kind of a thing. Um, then we worked on five fine necks for ladies, and that was a little rough because I only had the one day that we kind of went over it. Um, and we went over each part and the whole song, and then we got new music. Um, we only have four more classes with Graham, and our last one is with someone else before we have our winter concert, which is sad. Um, our new song is Titania's Lullaby, I think by Purcell. It wasn't written on the music, and I don't know if I misheard it, but it was adapted from A Midsummer. And it's in the style, Masque, which it was like an evening of arts where they would have poetry and dance and music. And it's a lullaby singing Titania to sleep right before she gets bewitched and falls in love with Bottom, the ass. Well, he's a man with the head of an ass, as in donkey, not Bottom, even though his name's Bottom. That was probably purposeful. Anyway, um, it's not quiet though. It's like kind of a big song, but it's interesting. Yeah, we are eventually going to do Carol of the Bells, and we're running out of time, so that's fun. No, I think we'll be fine. Yeah, and then we had lunch. Didn't write lunch, and the lunchroom was busy, so I ate lunch by myself by the door by this window, and I just like watched some YouTube videos, and it was chill, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Then we had artistic development with Ollie, and it was all about feedback. And we talked about that it's a thing and we do need it. That was kind of the beginning. But feedback is good, but it can be hard, and it's our job as actors to figure out what to take and how to take it, and what to ignore and how to ignore it, right? So we begin in great groups, little pairs, talking about why. Um, Oh no, not true. We've got groups in a second later. But we first talked about why constructive feedback is useful, and we talked at that it's to know our role, where we fit in the bigger story, to know how we are perceived, to broaden our own perspective and awareness. You can avoid. Um, oh yeah, to know who to avoid. Like I don't like working with that director because of the way they direct or give feedback, or I don't like working with this person or this place or whatever. And directors are not always right, and we don't need to be submissive. Ollie was very kind of careful about not being like, oh, you just need to say thank you, and they're always right. You can push back. You can use the text to support you, kind of like Kirsty was talking about yesterday. You can defend it, and Shakespeare will back you up a lot of the time. Um, yeah, and also helps you figure out what's useful and not useful in your own process. Um, he also mentioned a sign named Bernie, a show that's called a complicity show, which is where like he kind of directs the actor and it's all physical. I don't know. It's just something that I'm gonna go see if I have the option. It's great physical acting and creative work. And then there's this French school of clowning called Lecoq. I don't know how it's written, but the idea, it's just the leader and of this school and movement is just brutal. Like if you will do something like a performance you're working on, he'll stop you in the middle and be like, "Stop! That is horrible. Like that is the reason people do not want to go to the theater." Kind of like that, just like rip into you and be like, "You are what's wrong with the industry." And that was awful. Get out, go home. And the question is, just because it's kind of abusive, is it bad? And then because um Henry and the not Henry, Heriberto is kind of blunt like that, but we know that it's not personal. So it's interesting. Then we paired up and we were coming up with examples of constructive and unconstructive feedback. And what we kind of came down to more than anything is that it needs to be respect, right? Have respect in it. If you're respecting the other actor, and if it's a director who respects the actor, and there just needs to be that kind of idea of respect. Because if I'm just talking down to you, it's like that was crap, you're crap, stop. It's like I don't know what to do with you. What an awful note. It's like you're not doing it right. It's like, okay, what can I do better? It's I don't know, you're just not doing it right. Unconstructive kind of come with no explanation. It's difficult that way. We really like how when a director uses like actor vocabulary and puts it in the given circumstances, directs with action instead of a desired result. It's like, oh, be angry here. Okay, what does that mean? Um, it's like you need to be louder, which is fine if it's like a projection thing. Anyway, but like putting all of the work onto the actor is not as helpful. Clarifying circumstances, like moving the sliders, be like, hey, this means so much because imagine like you're risking everything in this moment, or this or that. Um, we like involving curiosity and camaraderie, like collaboration. It's like, let's figure out how to do this because this isn't reading or this isn't working yet. Let's figure this out. Um, Not using good and bad and these um like judgmental words and almost makes it a moral thing. Somebody who's great at this is Katie Mitchell, and she wrote a book called The Director's Craft. And she uses words like clear if it's a positive thing or unclear. And of course you can just think in your head, oh, clear is bad. I mean, clear is good. Unclear is bad. And so you don't want to necessarily do that, but you can see how that's a lot more helpful because it's all going back to removing the judgment and getting back to telling the story. Are you telling the story clearly or are you not? Then Oh, I just a side note, when I have anecdotes and examples and stories, I really want to be able to have the names of the people. I know that I'm not saying names in this because it's different, but like when I'm quoting experiences and professionals, I want Ollie is so good at saying this person, that person, in this movie, in this play, in this book, in this experience. And then he names the person. I really admire that. I want to be able to do that better. Um, oh, on a film set, it's crucial to know all your stuff, to like know it backwards and forwards, because when there's 500 like production team like looking at you and you have to deliver, you gotta deliver, and that can be super stressful. Um, one note that that student really loved from Gemma, from our director last half term, last project, was take it out of the face and into the body. And the student was like, that just helped me so much. Just was clear, clear direction. Um, Another thing that Karen apparently does well is like sets herself up as a mirror, because we need to know the audience's perspective, how we're being perceived, how we're reading. And so it's here's what I see, blah 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 blah. And that's so great. I love that because anyone can say that, because anyone could come be an audience member, right? Anyone could sit here and say, "Hey, this like children come to the theater, and adults and people who are versed and experienced in theater and people who have no experience at all, and they're all valid audience members, so I want to know how I'm being perceived to any of them. You don't need a degree in theater to be a valid critic in a sense, meaning, I mean, if you start quoting like, oh, Stanislavski or Uta Hagen, or you don't know those things, or it's like, well, you needed to do this, but if you just say what like you perceive, great. It's like I felt like this, or I saw this. That's all super valid all the time. Um, then the whole kind of point of this, what Ollie was coming back to, was that how do I grow in this industry, and how do I survive this industry and these processes without feeling like crap? Um, be willing to compromise and be willing to talk it out is also super helpful. And questions are so much better than opinions, right? Like, why did you do this? Or what were you going for? Or how can we figure this out? Kind of thing, Or what does your character want here? So much better than that was bad. I didn't like this. I didn't like that. Okay. In stories, they should ask a question. This is just Ollie's opinion and that he feels very strongly about. But in stories should ask a question and tie back to that question and not necessarily answer the question. And so when we're creating work, how can we ask a question and get back to it, um, without necessarily giving all the answers, but asking questions that create discussion. Also, directors and tutors can be just as insecure as we are as actors. Be patient with them, right? They could be giving a note, and then you're like, and they're like, oh crap, am I offending them? And we all have these experiences. Um, be aware of how you take feedback too. Stop your first reaction. If your first reaction is like, ugh, what? If it's offense, right? Just listen to it, take it, right? Listen for understanding. There was another step I missed in there, but something he said is say thank you, but he doesn't want that to just become submissive, like, thank you, yes, I'll do whatever you say, because then you're stifling yourself as an artist and a part of the contribution. Yeah, but that was good. Then we had awareness through music, movement. Awareness through movement. And it was my first class with Kristen because she's back. This is the class that Michaela was teaching. But now Kristen was always originally going to teach it, but she broke her ankle or like messed up her foot or something. And so now she's back. And it was cool. We began with walking. I love a walk. So we walked around the space, and we really brought focus to how do you walk and what is the way your body moves? How do your arms move? And we tried walking with um, our arms going the same as our feet, right? and how does that work? And can you run that way and then go backwards? And backwards was like kind of resetting since it wasn't natural for us. Um, it would reset the process, and it's like, oh, it's easier to walk with the same arm and leg when you're walking backwards. We walked on our heels and then back on our feet and then on our toes and back on our full foot. And then on the outside of our feet, then back on our feet, and then on the inside, and then back on our feet, and saw how that affected our bodies. And not trying to exaggerate whatever we were doing, but just trying to walk as normally as possible with these added kind of circumstances. Yeah, we were exploring our bodies and bringing attention to that and just observing ourselves, which I don't think I'm very good at because Kristen kept saying, like, how does your spine rotate or how much do your shoulders move? And I was like, I don't feel like they move much at all. Which I don't know. And then we paired up and we put our hands on each other's like scapula and like this is the space between our shoulder blades. And then we put our arms to the side and just kind of rotated them like this. And then felt on each other's backs how that like moves our whole kind of scapulas, like bringing them in and bringing them out. And it's interesting to see how such a subtle movement, because like our hands were just to the side, just doing this. And just this, which is such a simple, easy thing, just like moves so much and so much is incorporated in your body to accommodate that. And then we laid down and drew attention to our posture and the way we were, and just paying really attention to like our middle line. It's like when we lay down, start at like your belly button and then work your way up. And it's like, where's your middle line? Is your nose on that middle line? As you can see, my nose goes this way. Oh, it's hard because I'm looking at myself, but it's backwards. Well, there it is. Wah. Like if I do this, it kind of straightens out my nose on this side. If I do that, it's almost like a right angle. Mm, mm, mm. Anyways, a deviated septum. So yeah, that's on the wrong side. One day I'll breathe. Um, yeah, and then just like where is our arms and our shoulders, how equal we are. And then we got up and we observed each other, and then we tried to lay in the same way that they did. And then we stood up and did the same thing. And we just, it was interesting to see how much effort we put in acting like someone else. And also, um, just something was interesting. It's like, why do all, like so many animals, like a gazelle, they all kind of walk the same, but we all walk differently. And it's because our walking is a learned behavior, right? So many animals are born and then they just walk. It's innate, it's in them. But ours is so unique because it's based on everything else about us. And of course we're sentient and we're more than that. Like, right, other animals are sentient, they're aware of things, but we are aware of ourselves and we make choices based on insecurity and all these things. So, like, why, you know, and that affects the way we walk and move and stuff. So, what we did next was we laid on our bellies and put our feet up, like our knees up, so that if this is our body, right, we're on our bellies and then our knees go like whoop, so that our feet are in the air. Flat feet. And then our little feet were in there. And we tried to put our feet flat so that you could balance a tray on it. And it was interesting because yesterday when I was yesterday, well, the day before, on Tuesday, when I was doing the when we were reading through Richard III, I was kind of putting my feet under the chair and I realized, oh, that is so much different. So I kind of had practice from it yesterday, which led me um to doing it like I feel like I was better at it in a way. And so it was fascinating. My partner, he pointed his toes straight at the sky. And I was like, you know, you're trying to make it flat. And he's like, yeah, am I not doing it? I was like, not at all. And it's interesting. And then we kind of discussed that how our perception of our body is not always true, but there's still value in what we perceive, even if it's not correct, right? And to kind of make that better. And then our last class, voice to text. I'm going to pull out the thing we did. Um, but it was a lovely class. It was with Jess. It would normally be with George, but right, Jess wasn't feeling well, so we did it with George. And um, yeah, we focused entirely on Under Milkwood by Dylan Thomas, which I'll read for you. But we worked on it, and then we we got in a circle and we all stood up and performed to each other. And I had not put in the work. I didn't know we were performing it per se, and so I think that kind of hurt my experience. Oh, my body. And I was out for 2 weeks, so I was like, I'll do what I can. So I went at the beginning-ish, middle-ish, and what I did was something along these lines. There's the clip-clop of the horses on the sun-honeyed cobbles of the humming streets. Hammering of horseshoes, gobble, quack, and cackle. Tom-tit twitter from the bird-bounced boughs, braying on donkey down. Bread is baking. Pigs are grunting. Chop goes the butcher. Milk churns bell. Tills ring. Sheep cough. Dog shout saws sing. Oh, the spring whinny and morning moo from the clog dancing farms. The gulls gab and rabble on the boat bobbing river and the sea, and the cockles bubbling in the sand. Scamper of sanderlings, curlew cry, crow caw, pigeon coo, clock strike, bull bellow, and the ragged gabble of the Bear Garden School, as the women scratch and babble in Mrs. Organ Morgan's general shop where everything is sold. Custard, buckets, henna, rat traps, shrimp net, sugar, stamps, confetti, paraffin, hatchets, whistles. So it's kind of nonsensical, but it's like giving a vibe and a feeling. Um, and my feedback was that I was nicely centered, very clear and playful with pitch and not forceful. I wasn't exactly like that, but that was generally what I did. What my big detriment was, I needed to remove the text. I needed to be more familiar with it so that I could um, connect with the audience and not just be here because I was moving with the thing, trying to connect, but still looking at the script. Some things we talked about is um, we love a bold choice and an opinion on the piece, right? One of the students really put themselves in it, and there was lots of discoveries during it, and that was like a great choice, but you lost a little connection with the listener. The narrator is a character in of themselves. Be grounded, not too lifted, right? Like if your shoulders are lifted, or if you're like, "Oh," if you're kind of holding your breath in that sense, just ground yourself, be comfortable and in it, right? And that'll open up your voice as well. I just saw this video on Instagram about this man who kind of like had talked like this the whole time. He's like, I've always kind of talked like this, but when I actually relax and talk in my actual voice, it's much lower and this is comfortable, right? And it's interesting how we adapt and change our voices. Yeah. Actors are martyrs. They will sacrifice themselves for anything. Don't, right? You'll be like, oh, I'll just go all out on this fight scene, or I'll yell, and then they hurt themselves, and then they're like, well, you got like 6 more weeks of filming. What are you gonna do? Um, yeah, don't just be clear, also be daring. I like that. Like make choices and go for it. Explore the full range of the voice. Explore and be creative with the rhythms as well. And being present is being open to whatever you find. Bring in the conscious fixing of your body. Like if you lock your knees, like think every time before you begin something, release my knees, release my knees, release my knees, right? And soon that conscious effort will become unconscious. Um, my goal is whatever the next thing I'm doing, I want to be memorized. There was one student who was memorized and just impressive. And she didn't get everything perfectly right. She kind of stumbled on some things, but it was just so much more engaging and interesting and better. Um, so she said, this is something that Jess has said before, but if you lose the text, meaning like you forget your line or you forget what was coming next, it's a good thing because it means that there's been a shift and you're present. She also talked about some people having a muscularity. And so that just means that they're using like the fullness of their lips and their tongue and their jaw. It's like being not like forceful and tense, but just using it and enjoying it. Um, if you interject more playfulness and experimentation into your process, then it won't surprise you when you perform it because you want that playfulness and that energy and that those different things. And that's why we want to do it in the process and the rehearsals instead of in the performance because then it might surprise us and throw us off. But we still want the choice, right? We want to find that choice in the process and not be dependent on the excitement and energy of the performance itself. And then when we got with a partner and identified something that Jess didn't say, right? More self-reflection that were proud of, that we felt in our bodies that was good and that we did well and something we want to focus on improving on. And I said that with my lack of preparation, I was glad that I was able to make choices and do it in the time that I had for myself. But also, I wanted to connect these thoughts more, right? The clip clop of horses, kind of there's these chunks, and then it breaks into different things. But that was my day. It was a good day. It was a long day. Afterwards, too, I got with my group from my scene study where we're working on a little Hamlet scene, and we got together and we worked on it, and we're like, we're gonna bang this out in 20 minutes. Took an hour, and we're meeting again Monday morning. Uh, but it's good. We really got super specific about each moment. I think we've overdone it a bit, but I think it's better to overdo it for the sake of it. I was just thinking how it would work in an actual scene. I was like, we're just boom, boom, taking so much time. But hey, it might be fantastic. We just say. Anyway, thank you for listening. Love y'all tons.